Too far from the east. Yep, thank you for that. And I'll just make sure streaming is on. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for the relay, Bill. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH 286. And Patricia and David with you again this morning, just trying to pick up a few of the boats that are on passage. It's still quite, well, let's call it energetic. Some cases there's been a little bit of rain, but otherwise not too bad. Certainly there's boats ripping along with some good speeds. Flying Fish is not too far from home, only 200 miles out, and he's got Southwest 11. And yesterday, when he was 210 miles out, a little warbler arrived on deck. So we fed it a bit of water and off it went again. Was determined to keep going. I hope it knows it's got a good compass. Just a couple more reports to let you know what's going on out there. 30 degrees 46 for Obsession. They're at 173.32. They've got Southeast 10. They're a bit puzzled about the Southeast 10, so we'll have to give them an email later.
Who's this now?
Obsession, Lester and Lisa. Mesotroy have just reported up in Fiji 17 to 22 east-southeast going between Matuku and Kendavu, 1.5 to 2 metre swells. Toranui have got 25 knots from the east at 17 and 176 on their way down. So David's just looking over my shoulders here. There's an email in the system. We'll talk about that later because they won't hear us. They're too far south to hear us. Heat wave, they won't hear us either, but they're going to continue on to Queen Charlotte. They've got easterly 10 at the moment and calm seas, which will be fairly pleasant. And they're at 32 south, 171 almost east. So people are going pretty well. I haven't actually checked the YIT site yet this morning, but there's some pretty good speeds going on for the boats, so that's real good. And I haven't actually caught up with David this morning too. He's been really busy because there's people going in every which direction. And I see the Lark, your report has come through, so your PACTA must be working okay, so that's good going. And we've got Gunning leaving this morning for Bundaberg. Wind is west there. It looks actually quite pleasant on the satellite picture. Well, the top half of New Caledonia is. The bottom half is still saying goodbye to the mess above it. So there we are. Willamia are going to head off from Noumea this morning as well. So there's a lot of activity from everyone. Whistler are on their way from Port Denarau to New Zealand. They recorded 28 boats checked out of Port Denarau yesterday and Wunda. So, boy, there'll be a good watches going on because it will take a while for you guys to get organised there. So, or to get some space in the ocean. So, they've got just wind north of east. So, that's excellent. So, a little bit rough, as you all know, being on the outskirts of the high, but things are looking good. Just a bit of news. I'll just do a pause to see what this frequency is like. Liberation, go ahead, Bill. Oh, that's right. Yep, you're underway as well. Do you want to give me, give me a quick exact position, Bill, over. Yep, got that. 19855 and 17629. Good show, and we know you'll have reasonably sporty conditions. Hope the crew are coping okay. Over. Yeah, I just missed your course. Over. Okay, got that. Thank you very much. I'll get that in the system here. All right, and we'll pick up anybody else after David's finished the weather because you might have any questions to cover you for the next day. I'll just give a bit of news. I think I have lost the piece of paper. Here it is. Lost the piece of paper, but found it again. Back to Istanbul. I don't know why this really, well, it doesn't amuse me, but it's just amazing in the 21st century that we can have somebody go in for marriage papers and end up being chopped up. But it is difficult to prove that the Saudi dissident was slaughtered, as the Saudi consulate there in Istanbul has been repainted. Well, isn't that a surprise? Repainted inside, so I suppose that covers up a bit of evidence. Evidently, the body parts were taken to the residence of the consul general, but he's shot through back to Saudi. So it's all still in the political who was the person in charge of organising all of this.
I know what happened. Oh, he slipped on a banana peel and fell into the shredder.
Oh, he fell into the shredder. Well, maybe he couldn't answer the questions properly because they said he was being interrogated, but maybe he told them that the future wife couldn't cook or something. Anyway, Queensland yesterday voted to legalise abortion up to the 22nd week. I didn't actually know that Queensland didn't have that. You keep forgetting that all the states in Australia, like in the United States, all have their own rules. There you are, a bit of change there. Canadians are all quite happy with the legalisation of marijuana. They can carry up to 30 grams of legal pot. That's quite a lot when you think about it, because it's quite heavy, isn't it? In public, they can keep as much as they like at home. They can grow up to 4 plants at home for personal use. And it's estimated that it will be about a $4 billion industry in Canada. I suppose there'll be a few people coming over the line there, but there are 9 states in the USA that have legalised it as well, plus Washington, D.C. I thought Washington, D.C. was counted as a state. Obviously not. No, okay. The boss says it's not. In China, a Chinese vaccine manufacturer that released thousands of botched, faulty vaccines, some of them absolutely useless, has been fined $1.32 billion by the government. Boy, they must make an awful lot of profits to be fined $1.32 billion. Hopefully none of those vaccines went to the Western world, but I think they do. Rabies, pertussis, diphtheria, tetanus vaccines all came from China. Well, made in China, so I'm not sure where ours come from. They didn't actually mention that. In the USA, the Army have appointed a woman to head the US Army Forces Command. First time ever. She'll be in charge of 776,000 soldiers and 96,000 civilians. She covers the regular Army, the Army National Guard, and the US Army Reserves. So that's quite an interesting position for the woman. I think she started life as an Army aviator. For those folk from the lower North Island of New Zealand, it's Labour Weekend coming up, by the way, Labour Weekend, which is the big first holiday weekend for the summer, before the summer. 13 degrees it was this morning. Didn't tell you what the weather was. 13. 5 knots from the west-southwest, 1023.7. We actually had a bit of rain earlier on. It's clearing now. It started off quite cloudy, but now it's probably down to about 60% cloud cover. Anyway, down in Wellington, because they have such jammed roads on the Fridays of holiday weekends, they have decided to close the Paikoperiki Hill Road. That's the road that goes from the Hutt Valley sort of over to the west coast. It's for those people that are touring New Zealand for the first time, it's absolutely spectacular coming from that direction, because all of a sudden you come out and see this magnificent coastline and Kapiti Island in the distance. It's absolutely spectacular. It's a very narrow, windy road that goes down quite a precipitous hill. It's quite a big hill, the mountain by Australian standards. And of course that is quite distracting. So if you make an error, it's pretty fatal, because you roll a few hundred metres to the bottom. So they've decided to stop any problems on Friday. They're going to close it until 9 p.m, which is sort of a good idea, but it will just mean that the main road will be even more jammed. Okay, for those archaeologists or whoever who think this is important, Mount Vesuvius erupted 2 months later than thought. Now, we have to go back to October 79 AD. So this exciting news for those that want to be precise about their eruptions has been discovered because they have now found in a new excavation amazing new part of the town. So they have come up with this because of some things that were on the wall.
Man, I can manage 5 days.
You know, we can't manage 5 days, but then we're getting old, aren't we? Satellite image suggests a military build-up by Russia in Kaliningrad. And when I was in the Baltic states earlier this year, they are very, very nervous there about Russia. They are just convinced that Russia wants to take back Lithuania, in particular Latvia and Estonia. And Kaliningrad is this tiny little Russian enclave which is between Poland and Lithuania and Latvia. It's all on its own there. It's about 300 miles from the main part of Russia. They've got a lot of pictures on the internet to show what's going on there. So that will be interesting in the future. There has been a gun and bomb attack at a Crimean college, mostly teenagers. Crimea is a peninsula south of the Ukraine. It was annexed by Russia from the Ukraine in 2014, and there's been a lot of unsettledness there. So they want it back again. Ukraine wants it back again. All right. I tell you what, if you are into gambling, in America at the moment, there's 2 humongous lotteries. There's a Mega Millions, I think is the name of it. It has jackpotted to $868 million.
Oh.
Isn't that an awful lot? Gosh, that would actually be quite stressful trying to organise $868 million. But anyway, you've got until next Friday to get a ticket in that one. And the Powerball jackpot, which is actually the next drawing, is tonight in the United States, $345 million. Even that would be quite difficult. We thought we had a lot last week. Somebody between here, Gulf Harbour, and the bridge in Albany won $11 million. We thought that was pretty good, but boy, that's an awful lot of money, isn't it? All right, I'm just going to do a pause to see what our propagation is like out there. If somebody could let me know. I'll just check with Malua if you're near the radio, Harry. Malua, where are you, and can you hear us?
Malua is here. We're at 24 degrees 49 south, 162 degrees 13 east, wind less than 5 from the south, 100% cloud cover, 588 to controller, and propagation very good.
And very good from you too. Boy, that wind has really dropped away, hasn't it, based on what we heard yesterday? Goodness, what a difference a day makes. So 2449 and 16213, less than 5 knots from the south, 100% cloud cover, and 588 to Coffs. So David's just looking there at what's ahead of you. Any comments on what's ahead in that low? He'll probably talk about that shortly. No, he's going to do it now, and I'm going to pass the microphone to him to start the rest of it, and then I'll pick anybody else out after the weather.
No, that low that we've been concerned about is still easing its way to the south, and it's starting to fade considerably, although there's a trough that's to the north, and it's spreading its good cheer all the way down to it's 20, maybe 22 south, 23 south roughly. So just on the northern edge of your run line to Oz. So quite a bit of convective activity there, but the wind stays pretty decent for you. I'm looking at Saturday as an example. Halfway there, Saturday is southeast winds about 15 knots, and actually the 15 carries all the way to Oz. Looking at Sunday, it gets even lighter, 10 to 15, I would say. East, southeast, thereabouts. And we still have that little bit of disorganization that's on the coast that is south of Harvey Bay. It is low, it's inland, and what it's going to do to the coastal winds remains to be seen. So what is your ETA at the moment? Over?
Yeah, thank you very much. There are four of us within a 50-mile radius.
Yeah, got that. What is your ETA at the moment? To coughs. Over.
Tuesday morning.
All right. The winds are going to go northerly thanks to this little depression that's sitting there, and I would say, if nothing changes, but they have been changing, but we are looking at northerly quadrant winds. So it could be north-northwest, could be north, right in there. So we'll know a little bit more. You're not getting there till Tuesday, so the Monday report will certainly give us a better idea. We'll look at it again tomorrow to see what it's having to say then as well. But it doesn't look bad. Over.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll be on the side.
Okay. That was when you carry on.
Oh, all right. And it looks like I'm on as well. So good morning to everyone out there. And, well, I'll tell you, we have an amazing amount of convective activity up in the tropics. Heavy-duty cloud bands are running from Samoa to nearly, running from the Solomons to nearly Samoa. I said it in reverse. And if that's really not enough for you up there, the cruising route is actually competing with squally cloud as well. And of course, we do get troughing and convective activity within highs, very special for our part of the world here. So let's look at the synoptic analysis for this morning. Our Tasman high, 1031 central pressure, is just to the west of New Zealand. No changes there. And as we've been saying, ridging up toward the islands. And this, of course, is what's giving us very good direction winds for this trip south. Now, thanks to an upper shortwave, a polar dip is formed in the ridge just to the south of New Caledonia. And as this dip pushes into the ridge, the winds back to the northeast from Vanuatu and Newcal south to about 25 south. And this is splendid news for all of the yachts now en route to New Zealand from these two island groups. So far so good. It's everything is happening pretty much as we've been forecasting. Now by Saturday, the 20th of October, the high is going to lie over New Zealand. Still Prague to be fairly strong, 1031 millibar, and the isobars on the western ridge are going to be running more or less northeast to southwest. So the good news continues. We'll keep our fingers crossed that that shape of the isobars is going to retain itself for the next few days. It's absolutely perfect for the Newcal boats. Now, looking at winds around lunchtime on Friday at 25 south, mostly easterly quadrant, let's put it that way, 20 to 25 knots, except northeast if you're on the rum line from Newcal. Now, by Saturday morning, our subtropical low will just about almost fade east of 28 south off of the Oz coast. It's been weakening, but it's finally going to fade by then. But its pressure, what's left of it, is still giving us northeast winds for that Newcal New Zealand passage. Now, by Sunday lunchtime, we're still going to be looking at easterlies along about 25 south. And at 30 south, easterlies between 172 east and 178 west. So if you're between those two longitudes, that's 172 and 178. And down at 30, still looking at easterlies. But northeasterly winds from 162 east to 170 east. So as you can see, a little bit further to the west, you get a bit of a wind change. Now, the high remains over New Zealand. It may be a bit weaker, just a little bit. We're looking maybe at 1029 millibar, right in there. If these wind projections now are slightly different from your analysis that you folks are doing, be advised that this time around I'm using UK Met. Oftentimes I'll use different models to give the wind directions, and I'm always curious to see how well they do. Now, by Tuesday the 24th, next week, at 30 south, looking at mostly easterlies. Now, we're going to see a very slow backing as you head toward New Zealand from there. Arrival early the 25th, which would be, when's that? That's, Wednesday, early Thursday time frame, I think. The good news is going to be northwest winds about 20 knots right into New Zealand, and they will be southerly behind the axis. So we do have a frontal band that's going to arrive. Now ECNWF, they are thinking that the band is going to be arriving about the 26th into the 27th, a little bit different from GFS and GMA and CMC and some of the others. I may split the difference this time around. Usually I never do this, but this time I think I will. So we'll call the 26th as the ideal ETA for this trip. Obviously, if you get in sooner, the better. But the 26th probably is going to announce the arrival of a frontal band into New Zealand. So to avoid that, try to get in before. And I think everybody should be able to, whether you're from Fiji, you're from New Caledonia, that's only a 6-day trip. Tonga's 6 or 7 days. Minerva Reef is 4 days. So there should be no issues unless you just decide to stop and go fishing.
It's longer than that for Tonga.
Okay, no, Tonga is about 6-7 days.
About?
Yeah, well, yes. You shouldn't sleep so much on the pass. I thought you were up and awake and alert. All right. No, she never is. She's the best crew I've ever had. She's the only crew I've ever had. Okay, up in the tropics, we have a trough that extends west-east over Tuvalu. I mentioned the Solomon's Trough. It's a pretty broad one. It hammers the Santa Cruz Islands. Then it lies broken a bit over Vanuatu, but continues on to south of Fiji and goes down to about 22 south, actually. And then another trough, a different one altogether, is over Fiji and Tonga, and yet a different trough again lies over Rotuma. So all kinds of action, as I mentioned, up in the tropics, a lot of convective activity. Now, over to Tonga, our trough is still to the north. It's hovering around the Vavau area. But for all areas in Tonga, I would expect scattered clouds and showers. Tonga Met now has issued a strong wind warning and heavy damaging swell warning for all Tongan waters. Expect east to southeast, 20 to 25, gusting 30. And tomorrow, I see 20 to 23, 25 knots out of the southeast for Vavau, but a little bit less than that for the Hapais. Now, by Saturday, the wind is going to come back with a little bit more strength, east-southeast, about 25 on Saturday. And unfortunately, Sunday and Monday as well. So we do have a period of pretty strong winds. And again, that's thank you to the high that's to the south. Now, Fiji, what could I say about Fiji? Damp, wet, thunderstorms, windy, gusty, wind shifts, dragging at anchor.
Oh, come on.
Another day in paradise. Yep, our trough is still there, still doesn't want a divorce. So you lucky folks are unfortunately going to get a strong wind warning from Fiji. Fiji Met, and to top off the cake, a very heavy rain warning as well. Expect east-southeast 20 to 25 knots and gusts quite easily getting up to 35 knots. If you're unlucky enough to be under a thunderstorm, you could see 35 to 40 for 10 minutes or so. Now, the seas are going to be rough to very rough, poor visibility, obviously, and heavy rain. Now, for those of you that are really leaving and are prepared and are going, have left actually, I see easterlies around the latitude of Kindavu, and I think about 25 knots as a mean wind for that latitude area. And with a little luck, around 20 knots in the lunchtime area. So this is the day it lightens just a little bit wind-wise. But it does pick up later on in the day, I think up to 25 knots. And Saturday is going to be 25 knots as well. So for leaving, today would be the time to do it. And around the lunchtime period would be about the best, I think. Now, the first couple of days out are going to be maybe 2 to 3 bag days. But once you're down to about 25 south, things are going to improve. So you'll feel a little bit better. It will get a little bit better. Okay, Vanuatu's got the trough remnant, really. Looking at satellite imagery, I see scattered to broken cloud. So really conditions aren't too bad there. Expect northeast winds around 15 by lunch. Still light to moderate on Friday. Although Anisham, that's different down there, a little bit more wind. We could see up to 25 knots down in the Anisham area. And that is in part due to the trade wind surge and also the trough that's projecting out from that subtropical depression. Now, New Caledonia is still under the influence of the trough from that fading depression. Expect east to east-southeast winds around 15 knots and cloud and scattered showers. East-northeast 15 to 20, I think, for Ile-de-Pan. A little bit of a wind shift for that area. Tomorrow there's a big ease coming, I hope. East-southeast about maybe 10, 15 knots right in there, partly cloudy. Once you're clear of the reefs, those of you that are leaving, and heading to New Zealand, the winds could very well be anywhere from southeast to northeast. Now that sounds pretty weird, but that depends on the orientation of the trough axis. At the moment, it is more or less north-south, and so therefore you can imagine that one side, the winds will be different from the other side. So it just depends what reef that you're going through, what pass. Further east, in other words, the more chance that you have of northeasterly winds. Now, Saturday en route between the reefs and 25 south, you'll have northeasterlies about 20 to 25 knots. And it still looks like great directional winds right through Wednesday of next week. Arrival New Zealand probably about that time as well. And you'll have light to moderate northerlies then. So this is Wednesday of next week. Most everybody should be in if you're leaving New Cal. And those of you going to Oz, I think we touched base on that a minute or so ago. Fairly light air, northeast swinging around to southeast, depending upon what pass that you actually go through if you're leaving now. The directions do want to be southeast when you get clear of the land effect. And as you get going by Friday, light southeasterlies. Monday, 2/3 of the way there, the wind's back to the northeast. And as I mentioned, northerly quadrant on arrival for Australia. And I think that's pretty much covers it. If there are any questions or comments, come now. From what I can say, just in general, the window continues fully open. So make hay while you can. Get down there. Get down before the 26th. And you all should be able to do that, as I said. And we'll see what happens.
26th is a Friday, by the way.
Well, that's okay. Arrivals on Friday are okay. It's leaving on Friday.
Yeah, no, I just was reminding you that the day after is the 27th.
Oh, your birthday. I have not forgot your birthday.
Yeah, not so far. Right, so is there any questions from anyone? I think that has been pretty expansive. What's the word? That covers the lot. Conclusive, whatever. Is there any question? I don't know whether I hear someone very light. Is there any relay for anything?
Bravo.
Good morning, Adam. Are you still in Newcal? Over?
Negative, Trish. We left yesterday at about 2. We left yesterday and we are on passage to Southport, so it sounded like a good window. And you've got 2C2. 2C2 is calling in there as well. So if you want, I can give you permission to let us know. You can put that 2C2 over.
Righto, carry on with you. Yes, boy, you had to be patient, didn't you? So if you could do yours, 2C2 is in Suwarrow. So it will be a bit of a struggle for me. I did get Andrew on iCandy every now and again from Suwarrow, but it was a little bit tricky. And we have some weather here for 2C2. So when you talk to him, if you could just ask if he's copying me okay, and we'll give him some weather. But how about Bravo first?
We are at position 23 degrees, 19 south, 164 degrees, 31 east, and we are motoring at a speed of 6.5 knots. We are on a course of 237 degrees true. And we have no wind. We have about 2 knots of wind falling out of the northeast. But, 2 knots is 2 knots. And, that's about all.
Okay, thank you for that. Got all of that. Yeah, Malua, you probably heard earlier. I think there's about 5 of you, Harry said. So, got all of that. And if you could pick up 2C2, and first of all find out if he copies us. Over. Just working out that he might be there.
This is Bravo for Gulf Harbor. Do you copy? Negative, British. Do you want to try again? Quite light when I put them up, over.
Yeah, he will be quite light. I'm hoping that our 350, 400 watts might help. I'm going to tell him that Thursday, that's today, well, it's today here. I don't know that it's today there. It'll be Thursday tomorrow for him. Is this UTC Thursday, David?
This lunchtime.
Lunchtime today, is it? Okay, so it's his Wednesday. East to east, southeast, 15 to 20. East to east, southeast, 15 to 20. The next day will be east, southeast, 15 to 20 with the convergence, convective activity. I can't read his writing, convective activity. And then on Saturday here, it will be east, 15 to 20. So a bit of convective activity the day after, or tomorrow, and then not so bad the next day. So well, hopefully 2C2 copied that. I bet there's not too many people at Suwarrow now. Quite a good time to be visiting there, I guess, although we talked to Helen from 2C2, and she was saying that, and confirming what other people have been saying, that it's quite restrictive in Suwarrow now what you can do. It used to be an absolute ball of a place to visit, but sounds like things have got a little bit more rigorous there. All right, is there anybody else? Thanks for that from Bravo. And anybody else? Taranui, I don't know what's wrong. Graham, something must have come adrift because I can barely know that you are there. I might need a relay again. Taranui, go ahead, Graham. 2037 south. Okay, 2037 south and 17621 east. Is that right? Well, I better correct that with Robert, then he'll thinking that you've gone backwards. All right. Actually, you came up then. Possibly Lynn is sleeping, but you definitely came up then. So, yeah, as you get further south, tell Lynn the conditions will improve. I'm sure she's not impressed with them at the moment. All right, is there anybody else?
This is Eye Candy.
Okay, Eye Candy, I've got you, but I haven't got Pilgrim. I have struggled with Ron this season. Go ahead, Andrew, and pick him up.
I can't hear Ron. This is Eye Candy. Brenda is calling out.
Ah, well, you'll have to pick up Alan as well. I'm not sure where they are now. I'll be interested to know. I was just thinking where they were last night. Good morning, Alan and Denise, and Eye Candy will relay for you. I'll leave it with you, Andrew.
Yes, this is Eye Candy. Copy. Well, copy here in Manahiki. We'll be there for another day or two before making a decision. Is that correct, Alan?
Are you still there?
You did you get it on the reback,
Yeah, you're booming in. Oh, I wonder what Manahiki must be a good spot to be. They've been there a while. All right, and in typical cruising mode, they'll make up their mind when they decide to leave and which way the wind's blowing. And you're still in Falanga, I presume, over? All right, so Eye Candy just putting you in Falanga in my notebook here. And yes, it doesn't look all that great down where you are. Boy, it's been pretty snotty in Fiji for quite some time now. It's no wonder everyone's looking at leaving early this year. All right, could you just put out a call, please, Andrew, for anyone that I can't copy, because there might be a few people still with the radio on that are in my skip. Over.
Okay, this is Eye Candy. This is taking it out. Alleyway there. What's your position? Well, Red entry 127 144 118. Is that happy? Okay, is that you?
Yep, I've got Scallywag there, and they've probably, I'm just looking at what they've probably got condition-wise. What's their wind strength there, over?
Scallywag wind direction, please, over. Scallywag, Eye Candy, wind direction, please, over. Your wind speed, please, wind speed, going.
So they've gone completely. It's really weird, isn't it?
Scallywag, Eye Candy, this is looking for your wind speed, over.
It's not that important.
No.
We've got
Okay, I've got that, Andrew. Got you actually quite clear that time, Scallywag. 20 knots from the east. So, yeah, that's pretty decent conditions, although I suppose the swell doesn't help too much. All right, thank you for that, and thanks for the call. Just see if there was anyone else, if you wouldn't mind, Andrew.
There was somebody else here. This is Eye Candy here. Anybody else want to take that out? Leo?
Liam.
I guess no. I think you need a special call, Leo.
I think it was Leo, wasn't it? Could you that boat come again and tell us where you are?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at my list of who's on the way, trying to work out who that might be, because I still haven't got the boat name correct, I don't think, or not from anyone that has let us know who they are. But anyway, I've got them at 2007 and 17644. Did you pick up the boat name, Andrew? Oh, Mira. Okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah, I just hadn't heard from them recently. All right, got that. So they're on their way and probably got much the same wind. In fact, probably a little bit more than the Scallywag. So they would have heard the wind forecast anyway. And don't forget, folks, that we will do a very thorough roundup tomorrow to take you through the weekend. So there's a lot of boats out there. You're quite scattered now because some of you left yesterday, some are leaving today, and some of you actually left earlier in the week. So we pick up a couple of you on the Hamnet shortly at 2100 UTC, and the rest of you will hopefully will find your weather if you listen to David. All right, thank you for that, Andrew. Was there anyone else?
Well,
There's a question coming up. Did you put it to me, Andrew?
I did, no doubt.
All right, thank you for that. Nothing more. Yes, I've sort of got noises in the background. I can't quite work out where they are.
What's the question?
What was the question? Over. Oh, I see. All righty. Okay. I think that's about it, and I cancel what I said about our sky clearing here because it's now 100%, oh no, 95% cloud cover.
You're a golfer.
Yeah, I am
You're not a golfer.
No, I'm not a golfer, but it does look pretty decent. I'm not sure that it's a laundry day or not. But anyway, have a good day out there, everybody. If you're travelling south, it will get